to the Zero Barriers Podcast.
What is going on, guys? It is Eli here from the Zero Barriers Podcast. Welcome to Episode 5. So, it's been a few weeks now. I was uploading these podcasts once a fortnight. That was the plan. And I had Charlie on for 2 of them. And then Bulent came on for 1 of them. And my good friend Sashin as well. So, a few of my mates have really helped me out so far with this podcast. Now, Charlie was meant to be the co-host for every fortnight podcast. He's just started a full-time job, so I'm giving him a bit more time, but I'm sure he'll be on plenty more podcast episodes. But thanks so much to everyone who's tuned in and listened and given me feedback. Honestly, I expected about 10 views on these, and it looks like they're averaging around 80 to 100 so far, and on each episode. And as I said in the last couple of podcasts, we hit like 136 in the mental health category. I'm not sure where we're at now, but anyway, this isn't really a mental health podcast, but anyway, so today you might have noticed it's just me. Now, yeah, I've taken an extra week and an extra couple of days from episode 4, if you've been tuning in. So technically this should have been out last Monday. I took an extra week and a couple days just because, I was finishing off uni assignments, and now I've finished for the semester. I plan to release a podcast once a week. That's right, once a week, which was my initial plan. Once a week from all across June and July until I go back to uni, basically. So yeah, that was the plan initially, fortnightly basis, and then go to weekly basis, and probably go back to the fortnightly basis when I'm back at uni and busy again. But anyway, today is just going to be a short one because it's just me. Deliberately, I didn't want any guests for this one because I just wanted to discuss how a little issue from last year, a big issue, I should say, COVID 2020, COVID-19, the coronavirus pandemic struck the world by a storm. Now, the reason why I didn't want a guest to talk about this one is because I actually put on Instagram, my Instagram story, what was the biggest thing that the pandemic taught you. So like isolation, lockdown, everything to do with the pandemic. What did it teach you the most? And what lessons did you take out of it? And I just wanted to discuss a few of those. So I've gone and picked the best 3. So I've picked the best 3, and I've also selected one of my own, and I'm just going to briefly talk about those, my own thoughts. It's just going to be a quick podcast today. So if you do listen, please listen throughout because it's just going to be a short one. I'm going to go through and I'm going to talk about these things that people have learnt. So these are straight from my Instagram story. I'm going to start from the top here. And this one is from Laura. This is, so I picked 3 and I'll tell my own as well. So being unmotivated is normal. So that is the biggest lesson learnt from Laura from COVID / the pandemic. So let me think about this because I think It's an interesting one because I don't know whether the pandemic made people feel less motivated. I mean, I guess they did because there was less reason to get up and do things. But when it comes to this thought about being unmotivated is normal, I think we can sort of reflect on this and go, well, yeah, it is. Everyone is going to hit stages and periods of their life where they just do not feel like doing things. I know that men are actually most motivated in the morning compared to afternoon and evening. So if you're a male listening to this, if you've got stuff to do it in the morning. And they actually suggest that men actually they're actually talking about men starting earlier because they'll get more done at the workplace, and they're finding that actually men are pretty ineffective in the workplace when it comes to like your 9-to-5 jobs in that last stage of the day because men are unmotivated. So yeah, I think it is a good lesson to take out of the pandemic because a lot of us were sitting around. I mean, I know that for me personally, living in New South Wales, we had plenty of freedoms pretty much straight away, but it still wasn't normal. We couldn't go clubbing. There was definitely things that were stopped and halted for long periods of time. We couldn't see our family properly around Christmas. New Year's was nothing. I mean, I don't know, if you did something on New Year's, you were probably breaking the law. So it was a crazy year, and I definitely agree with that one. Like, I think we can all find ourselves in periods where we will not be motivated. We might not be motivated to work. We might not be motivated to exercise. Some of us might not be motivated to wake up. So yeah, it's great that Laura's come out and said that, like, being unmotivated is normal. I could probably go through like a lot more on that, but I think I've kind of covered the basis of that. It would probably be easier if I did have someone talking to me about this, but we will move on, because as I said, this is just a short one, just because I wanted to post something small for a change and just see how people react and see if it gets more views and whatnot. But anyway, next one we've got is from Brie. And she says, never take anything for granted, as her biggest life lesson from the pandemic and COVID-19, 2020, basically. So never take anything for granted. That is so true. I think life and death came into part in 2020 with this virus. A lot of people died. A lot of people got sick. In Australia, we were pretty fortunate. I know that Brie is from Melbourne, and she had it pretty hard in Melbourne. I know that they had several lockdowns, and I guess it's one of those things, hey, like, you just expect that you can get up and buy yourself a coffee and sit in a coffee shop and have a coffee, but there was a long time period, even in New South Wales, where you couldn't do that, and just the simple things like that, or going out for a drink and buying alcohol, like, England has just come out of lockdown, pretty much. The UK just come out of a lockdown where, they couldn't go to the pub. Crazy. So that these things that we just kind of become accustomed to and think, this is easy. Like, this is our life. Well, we take it for granted. And I think Bree's made an excellent point here about not taking things for granted, which I wholeheartedly agree with. You never really know what's going to happen in life, and I think you've got to keep the most important people close to you, and, the most important things close to you as well. I mean, just be thankful that you're alive and that you're well. I think as well, a lot of people are going to be thinking about this either consciously or subconsciously, that since this pandemic, that, if they're healthy, they have a lot to be happy and grateful for. And I think before this pandemic, a lot of people were just kind of cruising, living their lives. I mean, maybe not in some other countries, maybe not in developing nations, but a lot of countries in the Western world, I'm sure, would be feeling this way. And so it's an excellent take out of that. I think we all really need to, reflect back, especially us in Australia, and just be grateful but for the opportunities handed to us. I mean, what a fantastic country we live in, and a lot of the world now is peaceful. I mean, not all of it. There's obviously terrorism and there's violence, but there is a good large amount of countries out there where it is safe to live in. So, it's good, and I think it's important to never take safety and health and just life in general for granted. So great point, Brie, there. And yeah, I don't mean to be cliche, but we only live once, in my opinion, in most people's opinion, unless you're a Buddhist. So or you believe in reincarnation, of course. But so it's one of those things where I guess having this serious pandemic where a lot of people died kind of made us realize, shit, I've got to be grateful for my own life. So, great point there, Brie. That brings me to the third point, which is from another Brie, actually. And she says, being outside is a privilege. Make the most of it. I picked this one because it was a little bit outside the box. And being outside is a privilege, definitely. I know that Melbourne, with their lockdowns, they could only go for a walk. I'm not sure what the limit was, but it wasn't like they could leave their home much at all. And poor Melbourne was stuck in this for months and months. I know in New South Wales, we had a lot of freedom, which I will be forever grateful for. But yeah, even in New South Wales, we could barely leave the house for a month or so there. And when I'm talking outside Australia, because I know I've got a lot of friends from overseas listening to this, I mean, they were stuck in this for months too. Barely, like, some of them didn't enter lockdown until the later stages of the pandemic or a second wave. But, you know, we've all been through this period where we were pretty much stuck inside. And just taking that away from humans is insane. Like, just the beauty of nature and being outside, being able to exercise, it's hard. Like, everyone wants to see the sun and everyone wants to just get out of the house. And it's another good point there, and another good life lesson, and another, I guess, point to take from COVID and 2020. I mean, yeah, being outside is a privilege. Make the most of it. For sure. So that is the third and final point from you guys. I'm going to wrap this short podcast up with a thought of mine. And my thought, and the biggest thing I learned from COVID and 2020, and that is that the best lessons come from the hardest times. I can't stress enough how in 2020, how much I learned. And that is due to all the changes that were going on around me. I mean, just simple things like, not being able to catch up with friends, not being able to see family, but even like not being able to go to clubbing. I mean, I'm 22 now. I was 21 last year at the start of the year when I just turned 21, which was end of February, so 2 weeks before COVID really hit. I said to myself, this will be my big kind of last year of going clubbing. Obviously, that didn't happen. So, no dance floors. So, having no dance floors, having no clubbing, even something like that, it was crazy that we had to adapt. And I think, from all of this, I learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about life. I know that sounds so cliche, and I know a lot of people did. I won't open up about all the sort of things that I did, but I think gradually over the year I matured a lot, and I learnt how to be, I guess, more conscious of being in the moment and being grateful for the country I live in, for the place I live in, for being well, for my own safety, for my family's safety, and I guess in the past I've been selfish, and it's great to kind of sit back now and look in hindsight and go, hey, I've come a long way from, who I used to be, and I can look at my life now and go, I'm proud of where I am, and I'm proud of the country I live in. I'm proud of my family. I'm proud of my family, I'm proud of my friends, and there's a lot of things that I'm proud and grateful for. I know I'm kind of going on a tangent and maybe not making as much sense as I would like to here, but the point that I'm trying to grasp is that we live once, make the most of it, be grateful if you're lucky to live in a great country like Australia. Honestly, we are one of the best countries that dealt with COVID. So just be grateful for your own life. And that's pretty much the biggest lesson I learned. And I think going back to my original point, the best lessons come through the hardest times. So that wraps up this episode. I will be back next week, and it's going to be a special topic. It'll be on, do we work to live? I'm going to have Charlie back, I believe, but I know I will have at least one guest. So we might, for the first time, have 2 extra people alongside with me. So next Monday or next Wednesday, that'll be out depending on how I finish up with editing and whatnot. But thanks for listening to this episode. Make sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube, or whatever streaming platform you listen to. Give me feedback as always. I love feedback, so keep that up. Also have a monthly blog if you want to check that out. I'll just write a few things in there. But yeah, that's all for today. Just a short one. Thanks for listening, guys. And take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. I mean, I know a lot of people probably learnt a lot of things from 2020, and a lot of people just were like, that year sucked. But I know that things always get better, and I can say for myself that this year has been a lot better. I'm having a great year compared to last year. I know some people might still be feeling the pain from last year. So if you're one of those people, just trust me, it'll get better, and see what you can do to improve your life. But anyway, thanks again, and take care, guys. Goodbye.